Hey, how you doing? Justin here for Tammy's 9th lesson. Last one was recording.
Yep.
Which was lots of fun.
Really fun.
Yeah, I think it turned out really well.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
A lot of people with really positive comments about it as well, especially the bravery. And I must admit,
it was terrifying.
I would have been pretty freaked out letting people watch all my vocal takes. Like, I never ever do that.
Well, I had never sung it to anyone else ever before.
And then straight away in front of
straight
thousands
into
of
your
people.
studio
Wow.
with loads of video. Yeah.
That's well done. I think it turned out really well.
Good.
So, what I would like to do with that experience to kind of move it along a little bit is, I haven't had time to do it yet, but I want to spend another couple of hours and just rejig the drums and the bass so it's got a little bit more form. And then I'd like to re-record all of those guitar parts, but be a little bit fussier about the miking technique and do it a bit more like, okay, instead of just like making a quick rough demo, do it like we were doing it in the studio.
Yeah.
Do a bunch of different vocal takes, comp it all together and all of that. So the things that need to happen between a demo stage and a recording stage, some of it is thinking about tweaking it, what you would like to do. Some of it is the role of a producer if you've got one. So in this case, this is my role of like going, do you understand what a producer does in the record making process? You've heard of it before, I'm guessing.
Yeah, of course. You're kind of like fine tweaking everything and making it sound more structured, I guess. But,
so there's a mix engineer whose job it is to do the recording, put the mics up, make everything sound good, balance all of the stuff. But the producer often won't touch any of that. They're like the people who get the overall picture, because when you're inside a song and you wrote the song and you've done everything, it can be really difficult to see it from the outside. Often songs are a little bit like children. They can be difficult and they can be painful and they take a lot of effort to make. So it can be really hard to want to change it because everyone thinks their kid's perfect, even if they're not, right?
Yeah.
So the role of the producer is to try and craft things around a little bit like that and make suggestions like, oh, the form of this isn't very good, or maybe there's too many verses here, or, that's the gig of a producer. And I think it's often one of the mistakes that songwriters make is not getting a producer, of thinking that they can do everything themselves and they end up not having enough outside feedback. So that's, for me, when I started working with producers on my own stuff, was when I felt like my stuff kind of grew a little bit artistically. So always a good thing to have around. If not a proper producer, at least somebody who can give you some honest feedback, right? So the things that we wanted to work on that I felt like could have been improved a bit before we go ahead was thinking a little bit more about the rhythm stuff and the dynamic on the guitar front. So just being a little bit aware of that timing and the patterns and the changes between the patterns. Like, you naturally did those nice builds into the choruses and stuff, but I want you to do a little bit more playing along with that demo that we've done. I'm also going to run you off a drum stem, so it's just the drums for the whole song, so you can learn the arrangement and to play along, because what I'd ideally like to do is just play from beginning to the end a few times and then look at the individual sections and track them. That's the plan one. I also want to look a little bit at layering, perhaps some electric guitar parts up as well. Now, some of that's likely to be, I might do a bit of trickery on the computer, so get you to strum stuff and then use some delay effects and to kind of create textures out of the stuff. Maybe adding some piano or organs and stuff in as well to fatten things out. When it comes to a vocal thing, the first thing I want to do is just go through the lyrics with you, because they're fine and there's nothing wrong with them. I like it.
100% things are going to change.
It's always a good idea to just have a little bit of a tweak. And again, it's one of those things, for me, I love co-writing lyrics rather than writing them by myself, because I think there's a really fine line between really good and really shit. And sometimes you can spend hours, or I spend hours, like, is that a great line? Oh, is that really good or is it really bad? Like, have I used that word too much? You get into all of these kind of internal conflicts about lyrics. Whereas if you're co-writing a lyric with somebody, you could just say, what do you think of this? And they'll usually go straight away like, oh yeah, it's great, or it's not. And that can be really helpful and speed the process up a bit. So I just want to do a little bit of that with you today and just go through and talk about them. You don't have to take my advice. I'm not trying to co-write it with you. I'm still your tune. I just want to kind of suggest, like, just let's have a look at that line, or maybe how is that working for you, or whatever. Yeah. Of course, it's your song and it's your story, and it needs to be told your way. But I think that there might be just little things that we can do to
definitely
make it a little more creative. And well, not more creative, more. I think you can express it better sometimes. Yeah. So, once we've done that, I want you to then practice singing as much as you can.
Yeah.
What we'll do when we do an actual recording of a vocal is record it a load of times, 10 times probably, and then we chop out the best bits of each one.
Yeah.
We might end up doing it twice or 3 times and getting most of it done, and then going, well, yeah, this little bit here, this isn't kind of working great, is it? Like, and you'll know it, you'll feel it. It's like, this one could be better, and then we try different inflections, and it really is. The first time I saw somebody comp a vocal, I was like, this is cheating. This is like, no, don't do that. That's weird. But since then, I've realised that pretty much every vocal that you ever hear on a record is comp. Not every single one, right? Probably Neil Young doesn't comp his stuff as well, or whatever, that kind of old school people recording to tape, that kind of era stuff. But the idea, when you go to see somebody live, that's a live performance. In the studio, you want everything to be really good. So try and think about it when you're practicing it, about the inflections, how you're singing it, where it's going to be big and strong, where it's going to be mellow. You know, really try and attach your emotional feeling with the lyrics into how you're going to practice singing the songs. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I've done a whole lot of talking today. Sorry about that.
No,
okay. So, lyrics.
Yeah.
Let's have a little look-see at lyrics.
Okay.
So, first verse. Just read them to me first of all, and we'll talk a little bit about the scan.
So, it gets harder and harder every year that goes by, every birthday I have without you by my side.
Okay, that's all really nice. Okay, that's I'm pretty sure everybody can resonate with that. Anyone who's lost anyone, that kind of makes sense. Are there any parts of it that you feel like it could be changed, or any ones that you had doubt about when you were writing it? And this isn't a test. This isn't like I know something already. I'm asking you just honestly, like what's your feeling about it, or you're like, no, this sets it all up perfectly.
Yeah, no, I was like happy with the words, but when I listened back to the recording, I said every really weird. I said like every to kind of like make it fit in. The phrasing of it, but the actual words, no, I'm happy with.
Cool. I think it sets up pretty well. The idea of the first verse generally is to put the listener in the story. Like, where am I? So this is it gets harder and harder. And by saying it gets harder and harder every year that goes by, you still haven't defined whether it's you or someone else yet. Every birthday I have. So as soon as you said that you're now like, oh, it's my story from my perspective. Without you by my side, I think that all of that works for me. Okay, second verse.
The world keeps on turning. Everyone else is the same old faces around them. For them, it's not such a change. That last sentence.
That last sentence is a little bit clunky.
Yeah.
Yeah? So it's not like it's... I understand the meaning of it is solid.
It just doesn't quite fit.
I think you want to experiment a little bit with how many different ways can I say the same thing?
Yeah, yeah.
That's kind of part of that game now. It's the song crafty bit is, well, how if that's what I want to say, what other ways can I say it? And at the moment, it's quite literal.
Yeah.
And this is a taste thing again. I quite like the lyrics which are a little bit where they're describing something, but by not actually even talking about the whole thing exactly. And I think that can be an interesting... It's almost like, I feel like if I'm telling the story in my own songs, I don't want it to be exactly saying the story and not leaving anything for the listener to get creative with and apply it to their own story.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's how we relate in a song, is we hear somebody else's story in a way that relates back to our experiences. And the more defined I am about it being exactly, then the less likely they are to attach their own story to it. You know, that's... guys, I don't know if you like the bands, and a lot of it, again, this is taste. So you might really like really literal lyrics, in which case you should disregard that.
No, I
I'm
think
saying that's
there
cool,
are certain lyrics that you hear that are, they're just kind of clever in the sense that you know what they mean, but they are not literally telling you exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And they do resonate more because they make you think a bit more, like you say, a bit more out of the box.
Some of them don't even ever say what it actually is.
Yeah.
You know, the writers, the guys that I really like that do that, Elliott Smith is one of my favourite lyric writers. They're always just, he never really says anything about what it is, but it evokes these emotions, which is what he's trying to express. I don't know the guy's name. I should know. Whoever the writer is, I do know it actually. I can't think of it. The band The Shins. You heard The Shins?
Yeah, I've heard The Shins.
So, again, he's one of those lyric writers where it's just this, he describes these things that are really evocative of the emotions that you want to express, but it's not saying it exactly.
Yeah.
I just try. What's the line again?
Same old faces around them. For them, it's not such a change.
For them, it's not such a change. So maybe you don't even have to say that it's for them.
Yeah.
You could just say that it's not. It's not such a change. I'm trying to think. Do the seasons see change? I mean, change is probably a good word to have there because it fits with the whole scheme of things. But trying to look for it out of the path, so it might not mean the same thing. Yeah. Again, read that one from the top.
The second verse.
Yeah.
The world keeps on turning. Everyone else is the same old faces around them. For them, it's not such a change. So
the only other things with that, just crafty wise, I'm not sure I'm totally loving having the word same twice at the end of one line and the start of the next line.
Yeah.
And everyone else is the same. Everyone else is the same.
Yeah.
Everyone else is the same. It's a little bit like.
Yeah.
There's this thing that they talk about in songwriting called the scan, and you often get it. That's why I'm talking about like just reading the lyric out, because when you just read it, you often, if you're looking for the scan and trying to feel how it sings and how it falls off the tongue, it's one of those ones where the great lyric writers don't ever do that. When you read their lyrics, they always just flow nicely. And while we're still, we're learning to, all of us, and me and you included in that, are learning this craft. We want to aspire to try and get those scans to be really nice all the time. So when you're reading through it, if there's any bits where it's like, oh, this
just
doesn't kind of feel as good as it could be, keep looking, because there will be a better alternative around that you can think of. The only other thing I would say about that, the world keeps on turning, is quite a cliche. Yeah. It's used quite a lot. Now, that's not to say that you have to ditch it completely, but just bear that in mind when you're restructuring the last line and you're going to remove the sames. This could be an interesting experiment for you to say, how can I say all of these things
in a different way?
In a different way. Look at it from a different perspective to say the same thing, and just see what happens.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's maybe one of those ones where we can sit down and have a chat about it next time. I do want to do some more guitar-y stuff as well, but I think, because I used to do a lot of this songwriting teaching, I really enjoy it. I find there are kind of things that you can learn to look out for, and once you learn to look out for them, it improves your game all round, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I found it for myself. Okay, so verse 2 needs a little bit of attention. Chorus.
Chorus. But you keep me hanging on, you keep me hanging on.
But you keep me hanging on. Okay.
That's it.
I like it. Yeah, it works. It works. Yeah.
Okay.
That's. I didn't have a problem with the chorus at all. Yeah. Is there another verse? There is. Yeah.
Yep. Sometimes it's the music, sometimes it's the place, but the worst are the photos I find of us smiling again. Oh, I think I said when I sung it, of us smiling again. But I literally changed it on the spot.
Right, okay.
Because I wasn't happy with singing it anyway.
Right. Okay, so that becomes then an obvious point to look at.
Yeah.
I really like that. I like the sentiment of it as well, that it can be the music, because that is one of those things that for all of us, if sometimes music can evoke a memory really quickly, sometimes it's a place or whatever. Those things are all powerful. We all relate to that stuff. the last line could do with a little tweak, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think that what you changed it to, which was us smiling again.
Yeah, but the worst of other photos of us smiling again.
Yeah. Of us. I mean, it's almost like you could leave off again there as well. So the worst of the photos of us smiling, or of us happy together, or whatever. That kind of. I love the sentiment again.
Yeah.
But just trying to find a nice thing there
to fit.
Another kind of an interesting quirk that you get in writers that are really good is this not always sticking exactly to the rhyme scheme.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's okay in fact it can be almost shocking and powerful to have a little bit where it's not following the scheme.
Yeah.
And it just suddenly stops short or whatever, or there's room for a little breath or whatever. It can be kind of a powerful little tool.
Yeah.
Okay, verse 4.
As the tears start forming, I brush them away, stand up on my 2 feet and begin another day.
Okay, bits of that, where are you happy with and where are you not?
I changed the last line quite a few times because again it just felt a bit clunky.
Yeah, I agree.
And a little bit cliche.
So, as the tears start falling is also one of those, it is a little cliche line. It gets used a lot. Forming. Okay, no, still. Actually forming is better. Yeah, forming is better than falling for that. So, okay, next line.
I brush them away.
Nice. Keep going.
Stand up on my 2 feet and begin another day.
Okay. Those last 2 lines are basically saying that you're able to get on with it yourself and be your own person, and that you can get through it, and you're stronger than that, and you're not going to let it weigh you down, and blah blah blah. So I think you could definitely find a more creative and interesting way of expressing those things.
It's the second 2 lines of all the verse that I've struggled with. It's like I can get the first 2 lines out, and then it's like, oh no, now I've got to find another 2 sentences to go with it.
Yeah, but a little bit I always find writing lyrics a little bit like a puzzle thing. You have to work through, and that's, like I said, the co-writing thing can be a really helpful thing if you know somebody else that you can write with. All of the co-writing I did was like that, where you just sit. I used to write a bit with this guy Jim Cregan, who's an amazing songwriter, and we had a bell. We bought this brass bell, and we just sit there. Literally, it might take us sometimes half an hour to get a line. Like, we'd have a couple of lines and there'd be one miss. We'd be like, what is it? And we'd say one, and we'd be like, nah. He'd say one, nah. And then we'd both just try, and eventually you'd just go, I know what it is. And then we'd hit the bell. Yeah. And because you just know this is the right one. You know, and I don't think ever in all of the songs that we wrote together did we hit the bell and then go, yeah, it wasn't the right one, or the other person didn't agree, right? So you're looking for that experience of like knowing that it's the right one. Yeah. If you're still like, oh, I'm not really sure, then it probably needs a little bit of change or tweaking.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's really good to get to the point where you're at though now, to actually finish the tune, even if you've got lyrics that you're not happy with. Finishing the lyrics is really important. A set of lyrics, because you can always change them later, but until you finish them, you haven't finished the song. Yeah,
definitely.
So the bridge.
We bend and we break, we twist and we shake, stronger with every hit that we take.
Really like that. Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
And I liked it in the song. I liked where it was structured, and I liked how it grew. That was. I loved all of that end part. It's funny that quite often the bridge and getting into the bridge and going into the choruses is a part that a lot of songwriters really struggle with, but you seem to have naturally just knocked that out of the park.
I like that bit. I probably like that bit more than verses.
No, it really works. Like the what you're seeing works, where it fit in there. The fact that it kind of wasn't really a distinct bridge. It was kind of like a bridgy chorus breakdown thing, and then it weaves its way back in the chorus. I really liked that.
When we were first recording it, and you were like, a bridge, and then another verse, and then a chorus and a bridge.
Exactly. I was like, oh, okay. I thought, in my mind was like, okay, this is going to need some work, because this is one of the most common problems people have, is sorting out a bridge and then going into the chorus, because the bridge has to be different enough to give you a chance to come back into the chorus and the chorus sound fresh. But you navigated that really well. Okay, I remember listening to it the first time. I was like, yeah, okay, I got it now. This works really well. So that's
cool.
Yeah, totally on.
So then you kind of got that extra verse the slow down, breakdown.
Okay, which is?
I see you in my dreams when I'm asleep. I hear your voice and it's calling, calling, calling to me.
So the only bit with that I found weird is that if you see in my dreams when I'm asleep, like when are your other dreams? You know, like are you dreaming like while you're driving the car? So it was almost like, especially in that part of the song, it could have had something a bit
more powerful.
A bit deeper and a bit more, because that's part of that climax of the tune where you're resolving all of those things, and it could be better.
I think reading it, kind of analysing it like this, I actually didn't realise how super literal I am. No, but literally explaining that I am asleep when I'm dreaming.
So
yeah, that
one can be changed.
Yeah,
I think.
Okay.
And just changed, tweaked.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I often think people. It's not uncommon to talk about seeing people in their dreams, but the ones that I've liked of that are perhaps more ones where people are doing or saying a specific thing in the, rather than just I see you in my dream, like seeing you in a particular place where you used to be, or something more specific, saying something specific in the dream or whatever, I think can be more powerful than just saying I see you in my dream when I'm asleep. Does that make sense? So that's that's the other bit I think to work on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you agree?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking of things so that you could change it to.
In song terms like this, you have to. Even if I suggest stuff, if you feel really strongly about it, you have to disagree because it's your tune.
No,
right?
No, it wasn't. It was more that it helped you kind of being like, oh, you need to describe specifically what they're doing or something like that. That helps, because then it makes me think, oh, okay, so you could kind of say like standing next to me or beside me, or something specific
absolutely.
like that.
Yeah. It's one of those, and we're getting into kind of like song philosophy here, but I always feel like verses should be pretty specific to describing your story, and the choruses should be the bit that everyone else relates to their own story.
Yeah.
And your chorus is exactly the kind of thing that anyone could relate those lines to their own story. Where the debate that I have, and the question is, like, if the verses are very literal and very specific, it doesn't leave much room for their story. Whereas when you get a lyric that is super, super descriptive and very specific, but also a little bit off, it leads you to create your own. I just think of like Crowded House. There's a small boat made of china going nowhere on the mantelpiece. Yeah, it's just like, what a beautiful idea! Like seeing this little boat. Yeah. Made of china on it's such a beautiful picture, and the fact that it's going nowhere suddenly leads you to that, like, oh, maybe I'm going nowhere, maybe I'm the small boat on the mantelpiece, but it's not actually talking about a specific story, but it is quite specific language. Definitely. Does that make sense? Agree, so again, I think the best way to learn this, and what I do for my own lyric writing, which I must say I haven't done for ages, since the last Weecast record, but and even then that's mostly Ellen that does that, I should point out. I'm not trying to take credit for all those lyrics. But it's studying the people that I liked. Yeah. So for me it was Crowded House, it was Elliott Smith, Neil Young, Shin's guy. I'm so upset that I can't remember his name now, but those, reading their lyrics, what is it about that lyric that resonates with me? How are they doing it? How specific are they being? And for me, all of the ones that I've loved the most are the ones that are really off the line in what they're talking about, but it's still specific and still really describing an emotion that I feel like I can connect with. But it's like
the opposite of literal. It's not, because it's not literally describing something. Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with a literal lyric, so that's I'm not criticising your literalness. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that, and it can be a really effective writing tool. It's a choice, but it's one that I think that you want to be aware of, and by listening to the lyrics or examining the lyrics of the people that you really like will help you define what's working for you, what type of lyrics resonate with you, and that you might find they're the best tools to express yourself with. You might not, because there aren't any rules in this songwriting. So all I'm trying to do is I want to be a bit of a sounding board and give you some ideas and some ways to think of the songwriting game. Does that make sense?
Definitely.
Yeah? So your next task between now and the next lesson is to reevaluate the lyrics. I want you to be super critical of yourself, not in a negative way, but just to be, okay, where can I make this stronger? Knowing that you're coming from a really good place. You've written a song that is a really great tune. You need to just refine it so that you're
100%
super
happy with it.
Yeah, exactly. It shouldn't be where you feel like there's any room for improvement. You need to get it so
I'm
you're
listening
like
to it and criticising it at the moment. So
exactly.
Yeah, cool.
So self-criticism, I think, is the best. There's got to be a better word than criticism as well, because it's not about that. It's like just trying to find the best you in there. Make sense?
Definitely.
Cool. I would kind of think like a month's time I'd like to do that. So you've got a month to
get it ready.
Working on the strumming, the rhythm guitar parts, having a think about other ways of playing the chords, which we might talk a little bit about in a second. Re-examining the lyrics and then practicing singing them when you've got them, because especially what you don't want to do is finish the lyrics and then sing them straight away. Sometimes that can be quite fresh actually, but take your time with it now. It's first one back recording. So, all of the rest of the stuff, what have you been up to on guitar? Are you still practicing? Have you had a little pad? Have you been ticking off your boxes of things to do, or has that kind of slid for a little bit?
I haven't been ticking off my boxes, but I have been doing my stretching exercises. And just playing a lot more than I was playing before we started lessons.
Good.
Good.
I think that's kind of the key thing, actually. Really, for what you want to do, it's interesting because it's not really about developing loads of chops and learning fancy chords or scales or whatever. It's just about becoming more confident on the instrument, being able to make it sound really good, like whatever you play wants to sound nice. Are there any specific problems that you're feeling like right now where, I really noticed that I can't do this very well, or that this needs improvement?
My changes from bar chords to like normal chords, because I'm starting to, when I'm learning, like looking at songs that I want to do covers of and that kind of thing, if there's a bar chord in it, I'm not going like, I'm not going to learn that song, and I'm actually trying to learn it. And I'm finding that when I'm playing along to it, it's just clunky changes from like a bar chord to a normal chord. So
Did we ever talk about 1 minute changes? No.
I don't think
so. It's because you didn't do my beginner course, so we didn't do like the really early beginner stage stuff. So if you give me an example, what's a chord change that you find ugly?
Oh, don't put me on the spot. I don't know.
Of course I'm going to put you on the spot. That's the idea. Pick a chord change that you find difficult, an open chord to a bar chord.
I'm trying to think what it was. I think it was.
Okay. That's a C minor going to a G. That's a nice chord change. Yeah. The 4 minor. Ariel Posen's favourite chord change. So if you've got a song that's got that in, I'm just making up stuff. So let's say it went G, E minor, C, C minor, or something like that.
Okay.
If you practice that chord progression over and over and over, you're only getting, each time the chord progression goes through, you're only getting one change of going from the G to the C minor. So what you're better off doing is focusing on that one change that you can't do and doing it over and over again for 1 minute. So you literally set a countdown timer on your phone and you go 1 minute, hit start, and then you go. Try and do it as many times as you can for that 1 minute, even if at the beginning you're going. That's okay, but the idea is that you time yourself how many times you're doing it in that 1 minute.
And try and increase
because you're then focusing exactly on doing that one change and nothing else. That's it? Good. Strum it, that's it. It's not necessarily about the chord being perfect, but it wants to be like not rubbish. That's it. Keep going. Make sure the fingers are all in place before you strum it. That's it. Keep going. Never mind. Keep going. That's it. And again. Make sure the third finger is in the right place. That's better. Keep going. Now, what you did there was probably, I don't know, 20 seconds or something or less. A minute is actually quite a long time to do that, and you'll find that you get quite a few changes.
Okay.
So generally you probably want to get to the point where you're doing a change a second, so like 60 changes. If you're counting like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like that. That's okay. Yeah, you want to be aiming for 1 a second. Okay. That should be a target time. In 1 minute, if you did it, and when using a timer, it's one of those focus things again, where you hit the timer and you go, right, I'm focusing on doing this, and you do it as best you can, then it stops and you go, okay, I'm breathing in, relax, do something else. Okay. You could space them out during the day. You don't want to do them like consecutively. So do one, then work on some other stuff for a little bit, and then maybe come back and do it. If you've got like a half an hour to practice, you do 1 minute change of a particular chord. If you've got a few, write them down and say pick 3 to 5 chord changes that you struggle with, write them down, and then each time you do those 1 minute changes, write down your score, and you'll start to see it go up. And the fact that you see the numbers going up as well can be quite inspiring to keep going, because you know it's a what's the CrossFit thing that they talk about, measurable and accountable and all of that stuff. So you can measure your progress then, and the fact that you can measure it and see it is quite inspiring to keep it going. So I think that could be, you've got a little practice book there. Just write down the chords that you struggle with, G to C minor, and then each time you do it, jot it down. Yeah. Okay. It's the kind of thing where I still do the same thing. Still. So if I'm struggling my way through this horrible John Mayer tune, Why Georgia, a great tune, but it's got this really horrible little chord change in it. So I'm still practicing making that chord change, because the fact is that I know that those, doing the little 1 minute bursts is really effective. So it's a tool that you can use forever. It's not like just for beginners. When we started doing lessons, I encouraged you to ditch the fingerstyle thing and go back to the pick. Yeah. Yeah? Yeah. You look pretty confident with the pick. So I want to go back and do a little bit of fingerstyle to give you another tool that you can add for your writing.
Sounds good.
So I want to give you one exercise, just one this week to work on. Okay. So give me a C chord. Now, what I want you to try is doing this. Thumb, flat, first finger. That's it. Now, I want you to do a little strum with the second and third fingers just going down on the strings. That's it. So 1 and 2. And then first finger again. That's it. It's that first finger. What you want to be able to do is to be able, on that last note, to be able to play any string with any finger.
Can I use the third finger? Because that feels more natural.
Yeah, but just maybe not on that string. So if you're going to use your third finger, let's have the second string or the third string. That's it. That's it. Good. Now do it on a G chord.
Like that?
Yeah.
Or same?
No. So thumb will move the bass. Good. Yes? That's it. That's it. Sorry, let's just read out tune. That's it. Excellent. Now, this little pattern is really good because you're getting a nice backbeat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. There's your doom, ga, bass, kick, doom, ga, like a drummer. You can get a really nice little groove on.
Yeah.
And what's happening is that last note can change all the time, which is why I was a bit like, oh, you could use your first finger, oh, you use this other one. Doesn't really matter. Be be actually any of those. Thinnest. Yeah.
Okay.
The key thing is the having this
Where
1 and 2. That's the part, because you could even have. Just try. Don't strum with the first finger. Try and strum with the other fingers. That's it. That's it. That's the one. Excellent. Excellent. So I want you to try and write a chord progression using that with as many chords as you like.
Okay.
It works with bar chords. See how it's got a little groove going on the tone?
Yeah.
Yeah? So that's your specific guitar homework, is to try that. I'll get this video done as soon as I can so you can go back and revise it, and I'll write it down. But thumb, 1, hit, and then any one of those different fingers will work.
Okay.
Yeah? It's a really nice way of developing some percussive thing. We'll talk a little bit more about that next lesson. Sorry, there was one other thing and I just remembered. The chords for your tune. Remind me the verse chords.
So it was D A E M G, but it was with.
Let's not call it EM. Let's call it E minor.
EM.
E
minor.
EM. Who's EM? Okay. Again. D
A E minor G.
G. Okay. So how do you play D A E minor G? Go.
With third capo.
Doesn't matter. Just let's pretend we got the cap on. Yeah. So D, A, E minor, G. How else can we play D?
What cage system?
Not cage system. Let's not do that. Let's just stick with E and A shapes. So
Okay.
where's a bar chord version of D? Yeah, you got it. Excellent. Okay, there's D, A. Think about the root note. Think about the root note. Where's the note A? On the bottom string. Yeah, you got it. Good. Next one, E minor. You knew where D was. Where was D?
I've forgotten now.
That was D. So if that's D, where's E? Where was D? Show me D.
I can't remember now.
Yes, you can. For it.
Well, this one.
That's D minor.
Okay.
That's D.
Yeah.
I just gave you a big clue. No. Okay, so stop there for a second.
Okay.
We really need to revise the root 5 and root 6 major and minor bar chords.
Okay.
Okay, so that's your other part of the homework. Now, you did amazingly well on understanding the cage system, and the fact that you can do that is way beyond most people's ability to figure out for where you're at on your journey, right?
Okay.
But I want you to know the notes on the thickest 2 strings and the major and minor associated grips.
Yeah.
Yeah. By next lesson, I want to be able to point to any note on there straight away and you name what it is, and on the 5th string.
Yeah.
Okay, it's really, really, really big deal. And I want you to know that on the 6th string root, we've got major and minor. And on the 5th string root, we have major and minor. I'd rather you didn't try and do it that way, because it's just a bit of a funny way of playing the chord. I want to use a 3rd finger bar for that. Have you done that before? Have we been through how to do that?
Yeah, the A thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah, okay. The A thing. I can see you having nightmares already.
Gross.
So you need to know major and minor with a thicker string root, major and minor with a 5th string root. So that if I say I want to see an E minor chord, you go, where's my E on here? Or there's E there, that's not the right one because it's not a bar chord. So where's your dots? 7th fret. So there's your note E on the 5th string.
Yeah.
So what's the minor shape associated with the 5th string? That's major, minor.
Okay.
Remember, that shape is minor with the 5th string root, but the same visual pattern with the thicker string root is the major chord. So that's where it's a bit weird, because you got there, that's an A major chord, but when we move it down to D minor. Yeah? We've got this written out, right? I must have written this down for you. This is like...
Because you got G, A, B, C, D, E.
Good.
So then that's...
Exactly.
I'd just forgotten the shapes.
Right, okay. So a little bit of revision on that, because what I want to start doing for next time as well is looking at playing the same song in different ways. We can use a capo, but it's also a good idea to be able to do it without using a capo and be able to go to figure out where these different chords are. Obviously, if you had a capo on the 3rd fret, was it? So these bar grips would be exactly the same, but up 3 frets each time, because you need to play it relative to the capo. Make sense? Yeah.
Okay.
So, revision of the bar chords, major and minor shape, root note on the 6th string. You've got that rhythm pattern to check out. This thumb, 1, hit, finger.
Yeah.
Just on whatever chords you like, and explore. See if you can write a tune that's using that as a kind of a seed to get you going.
Yeah.
You've got practicing your strumming along with the drums for your tune. Remembering that you're trying to practice the whole form and the dynamic stuff we talked about, where we played slightly less in the early stages and then we've developed it a little bit for the choruses. We've got revising the lyrics and then practicing singing the lyrics.
Okay.
Yeah?
Cool.
So it's not like you don't have much to do the next few weeks. Yeah, is that okay?
Yeah, that's
Any questions?
No.
No? All good?
All good.
Okay, remember that all of the notes for this lesson are going to be over on the website. Tammy's practice routine and related lessons links around the website. Say bye-bye to the internet, Tammy.
Bye.
Bye.